mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? In beautiful Paris. Ho 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 ho.
This is my favorite part of the show, Casey. And like, we could stop it right now. I just always want to know what you're gonna come with. And I love. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the UFC Paris preview show. We are 24 hours and maybe a little less than 24 hours away from UFC Paris going down in, I think, Aqua Arena in the City of Lights. And so we're here to talk about it. It's going to be a damn good time. Hi, everybody. I'm Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com. It's a great website, but you already know that because you're here. And like I said, we're here to talk about UFC Paris and all that entails. And joining me, other than E. Casey Leiden, who you already heard on the ones and twos, the esteemed, the shepherd of Bizarro BTL himself, Mr. José Youngs.
Represent. I'm only holding up a fist because I saw that Jed has a black star behind him, so I'm assuming that means he's anti-colonialism, so represent Jed.
I am, in fact, anti-colonialism, but that is not what the Meshew star behind me represents. It's a grade of this fight card, which we're here to talk all about. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hope you stick around. If it's not, you know the deal. We're going to talk about UFC Paris. We're going to talk about the main event between Renato Moicano and Benoit Denis and all the other fights. And then at the end, we'll take questions. So if you got questions, fire them into the chat. Super chats get priority. But let's dive right into it because we got things to do, Jose. We're busy people, and this is a pretty damn good fight card. And so I was trying to figure out how I wanted to intro us. You know, what is the opening question? And I thought I wanted to keep it topical. And we got 14 fights, and you, sir, you're a lover of high-level mixed martial arts. And so what I want to know from you is if this UFC Paris was a French pastry, which French pastry would it be? Give me kind of a score here in the term of French pastries. Like, what's your favorite French pastry, and how does that relate to UFC Paris?
I'm trying to think of... Name some French pastries for me. I know we have a croissant.
Pain au chocolat, macaroon, profiterole, eclair. Eclair's obviously a classic one.
These are all words that I've heard. Well, I think an eclair would be like peak. A macaroon, I don't think I've ever had a macaroon in my entire life. That seems like for, the bourgeoisie of society, and I am certainly not that.
Very bougie.
I am certainly not that. I'll leave that to all everyone else at MMAfighting.com. I'll probably say croissant. It's not my favorite, but when I have it, it's certainly good. And then I go, I should have more of these, and then I just never do again because I realize there's like a whole lot of butter and like 400 calories. So yeah, I'll say croissant. That's a good one.
I think croissant is, as I was asking this question to myself, I think croissant is the right answer in that there's a lot of it that's good. And then there's probably too much of it. Like you eat a croissant and then you're like, wow, that was a whole lot of butter. There are 14 fights in this card. We'll get into it. We probably don't need that many, but at the peak, it's elite because this main event, Renato Money Moicano taking on Benoit Denis. I think the UFC rankings, they're like 11 and 12 or 10 and 11. They're just on the cusp of top 10, both ranked for us as well. Let's start here because, as I mentioned, you do love high-level mixed martial arts.
Sure do.
How do you feel about this fight? Like, was this the fight to make? And how excited, what is your level of anticipation for Saturday as a result?
I mean, this isn't the main event I expected by any means. I thought for sure Moicano would probably be fighting Paddy Pimblett at some point just because they seem to want to fight each other. And I actually thought that fight would make, even outside of them wanting to fight, I just thought it kind of made sense. Moicano has become very popular. Paddy is obviously very popular. But, I know Moicano did an interview with her own Mike, it was either Mike or Damon. I can't remember. He did an interview, and he's like, we all know why I'm fighting Benoit Denis. It's because the UFC really likes Benoit, and they want to push him, and they're trying to use me as a guy to kind of catapult him because I'm always in exciting fights. And he goes, and I get it, it's business, but they matched him up with the wrong guy. So I think that's a good attitude to take in. Like, he's very self-aware. He knows the European fans want to see this fight. I think it's smart that if he beats a European, then he moves on to another European and an Englishman and Patty, who just, he just kind of establishes that fan base right there. It's not the fight I expected, but I'm certainly not going to complain about Moicano fighting anybody because he is always in banger fights, and Benoit Saint-Denis, we'll get to him. I have a lot of questions about him, but he's also in a lot of very exciting fights, so most certainly a fun fight. I don't hate that it's the main event. I know there are some people that thought the co-main event, which we'll also get to, should be the main event. I thought this was the perfect opportunity to have 2 5-round fights, a main and a co-main at 5 rounds, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm with you on a lot of that, frankly, just because if this being the main event means it's 5 rounds, that's what we want. No disrespect to the co, and we'll talk about that and even raise that very question. But I want to see these two dudes fight for as long as possible if they aren't going to end it sooner. And I am honestly not sure. Like, I got a lot of questions about this fight personally because I think we're all really high on Benoit Saint-Denis as an action fighter. He's very, very fun, obviously, but a little unproven. He still has some to prove. The Dustin Poirier loss, maybe you reassess him. And Renato Moicano, sort of similar, former featherweight who had some struggles and has been very, very good at lightweight, but doesn't feel like he's in the true contender zone. And so, building off that, what is your big question for this main event matchup?
I want to see how Benoit Saint-Denis does against another guy that's in the top 15 because obviously Benoit, they matched him up with Dustin Poirier, and I'm going to pull the curtain back. I don't know if it's unanimous, but a large majority of MMA fighting thought that was going to be a murder on the others in the opposite way it played out. A lot of people were like, why would Dustin Poirier take this? This is going to be sad. He's going to get mopped up by Benoit, who's been really just knocking fools out with head kicks and punches, with submissions. It was just it was pretty much whoever he wants to win, he's going to win. And Dustin Poirier was coming off that bad head kick loss to Justin Gaethje in Utah. And it just seems like, what Moicano said, they're using a big name to springboard Benoit into bigger and greater things. And I was like, guys, this is Dustin Poirier we're talking about. One of the 5-7 greatest lightweights in the history of the UFC. Probably the best fighter to never win a UFC championship that has fought for a UFC championship. And I didn't see it. I didn't quite understand. I understood the hype, but I didn't understand why everyone thought that he was just going to run through Dustin Poirier, and then Dustin Poirier punched him in the face and knocked him dead. Yeah, he had staff, but that was his choice to fight with staff. That's on him. I've seen a lot of people win with staff. Merab Dvalishvili has won with staff, and it didn't really affect him. I don't know. I didn't quite understand it, and then Dustin Poirier did what I thought Dustin Poirier was going to do. And then now my big question is, if Benoit loses again to a guy in the top 15, how far back does this set him? We know he can hang with the top 15, but can he beat the top 15? Or is he just going to be one of those guys that's going to be in really exciting matchups? Is he going to be basically in the Drew Dober camp, where he's never going to crack the top 10, top 7, but every fight he's in, you're going to want to tune in, and no matter who he fights, it's probably going to win a post-fight bonus? Or is he going to be a guy like a Justin Gaethje or Rafael Fiziev that is exciting and then cracks into the top 10, top 7? So that's my biggest question, is can he hang with the elite of the elite? Because I love Matt Frevola, really nice guy. Me and him get along very well. Thiago Moises is no tough out for anyone. But there are levels from going from Matt Frevola to Dustin Poirier. That is a massive jump. That's like going from 25. That's like 25 to 2. That's what we're doing here. So my big question is Benoit the real deal? Because Moicano is a guy that's been in the top 15 in 2 divisions. He can submit you. He can fight through damage. We saw him fight 25 minutes on 6 days notice against RDA, and he never went down. We saw him get dropped dead by Jalen Turner, get back up, and then beat Jalen Turner. I don't have questions about Moicano. Moicano is an unbelievable jiu-jitsu practitioner, very good boxing, very durable, and knows how to fight through pain. I want to see if Benoit can hang with that. I want to see if he can do that for 5 rounds against a guy who's not top 3, but top 15. That's my biggest question.
That's a really good question. Because, yeah, I'm with you. I want Benoit Saint-Denis to take the mantle from Justin Gaethje, as Justin Gaethje is near the end of his career as this exciting dude who is also world-class elite. We'll just kind of have to see. And to me, when Moicano, it was Damon Martin, by the way, who did the interview. Yeah. When Moicano was saying that, I was like, I mean, I get where you're coming from, and certainly maybe that's just your perspective. To me, this actually feels like really good matchmaking
Yeah.
to answer that specific question, Jose, of hey, we know he's not top 3 right now, but he's pretty clearly in the top 20, top 15.
Mm-hmm.
Is he somewhere a little closer to the line? And I think that this matchup makes a lot of sense with regard to that. And so I love the matchup. I love the fight. My other big question though is what's at stake here? Because you pointed out earlier, it seems like Renato Moicano and Paddy Pimblett, they just feel destined to compete against one another. And I don't know if a win here for Moicano would elevate him. That'd be 4 in a row for him. Does that then put him on the hey, maybe he has title aspirations and we don't do the Paddy thing because he gets to fight Justin Gaethje next? Or does he say screw it, I want Paddy? And conversely, what does a win mean for Benoit Saint-Denis? What are these two fighting for on Saturday?
I think Moicano will be on the. I think Moicano Patty will be on the short list of fights that fans will want to see, and I get it. Like it would make sense. They both be coming off wins. I know Gamrot is up there in the top 10. He's coming off a loss to Hooker, so maybe that could be a fun matchup too. But if Benoit wins, I would selfishly really like to see him fight Rafael Fiziev, who got his knee hurt in his last fight. It was a TKO loss, but he blew his knee out, and now he did an interview, I believe, with Mike Heck on our site. You can go watch the YouTube video. You can go read the articles. You can go to our YouTube channels and rewatch the clips. And he's like, I've been asking for a fight for a long time. I'm ready to go. And he's like, why is no one calling me out? Like, he called out Benil. He's called out Dan Hooker. He's called out Gamrot. But if Benoit Saint-Denis wins, and I think he's like 12 or 13 in the UFC rankings, I think Moicano is right around there. And I know Rafael Fiziev is 10 or 9. I know he's top 10, but I just don't know where. He's on the further side, but like
he is 9 in the UFC's rankings.
But like Rafael Fiziev is on a 2-fight losing streak. One of them was to Justin Gaethje in London, and no shame in the game. That's one of the most fun 3-round fights you'll see. And then he blew his knee out in his last fight, and who knows how that fight would have gone if he had kept fighting against Mateusz Gamrot, who had just had a banger of a 3-round fight against Dan Hooker. I mean, are we going to say no to Benoit Saint-Denis versus Rafael Fiziev? I don't think so. Because that is the definition of when you take a car crash with like race car drivers, like very high level fighters and strikers that just are 100% go, 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 go all of the time. If they want to stick that in a European card that might be coming up in early 2025, they want to stick that at the end of the year. They want to stick that in, a fun little place in California in January that we've heard rumors about, then I am all for it. But let's see how Benoit looks first, because like I said, big gap from Favola to Poirier, because for all we know, Benoit and Moicano just kind of beat the soul out of each other, and both of them get 6 months medical suspensions, and we're not talking about them till April, May.
I would honestly say that seems like the most likely outcome.
So
you brought up Rafael Fiziev, who just sort of the forgotten man at lightweight. I would love to see, honestly, him fight. I know he's already fought Moicano, but that was 5 years ago at this point. It was a while back. If we wanted to run that back, I would be comfortable with it. I mostly just want to see Rafael Fiziev fight somebody, because feels like he's been gone for a lifetime, even though it's been a year. And where he was. And there's just no wrong way to eat the Reese's with Benoit Saint-Denis if he gets the win here. Anybody would be absolutely sensational. And at lightweight, you're just 8 million fights away from a title shot anyway, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You fight to fight because it's fun and they enjoy fist fighting each other. That brings me to the last question on this before we move on, and it's very simple. Who you got? Give me your prediction on what this fight looks like. Who is going to get the W tomorrow?
Oh, that's a tough question. Because I was 50-50. I switched my because usually I pick the established person to win just because we have more data on them and I have a lot more questions. But I did the opposite of that last time I was on a preview show, and I can't remember who I picked, but I know I picked Natalia Silva to win, and who was in the main event of that? I don't even remember.
The Natty Ice card? Was that not UFC 306?
Nope.
Was Natty Ice at UFC 306?
Nope.
No, that was the Burns Brady, and you definitely picked
And
Gilbert
I picked
Burns as the more
nope.
established
I
fighter.
definitely picked Sean. I definitely picked Sean Brady
Did you?
because I remember saying my gut says Gilbert Burns, but I always
No.
pick wrong when I pick the veteran. So I picked Sean Brady, and I was right. I'm like the MMA gods are weird that they kept going. So it's tough because I think the Jalen Turner fight was very impressive to me because Jalen Turner basically knocked out Renato Moicano and tried to do a walkaway KO, and then Moicano just got up. And I think if Jalen Turner had swarmed and just finished with ground and pound, I think Jalen Turner would have won that fight because Moicano was on his back, unconscious, and then snapped out of it and stood up and then beat Jalen Turner. I don't think Benoit Saint-Denis is the type of guy that'll hit a guy and then try to do a walkaway KO. I think he will swarm. So I'm gonna pick Benoit because Moicano gets hit a lot. He is very durable, as we saw against RDA. I know Fiziev knocked him dead, and I know Korean Zombie knocked him dead at featherweight, and I know Jose Aldo knocked him dead at featherweight as well. He is now at lightweight. He looks better than ever. But the image of him getting clipped bad against Jalen is still fresh in my mind. And I think if he gets clipped by Benoit's not going to walk away. He's going to be smart and swarm him. So I'm going to pick Benoit, but it's going to be in the later rounds. I don't think this is going to be a quick night, and I certainly think Moicano is going to win rounds. That's for sure. I think this will be in rounds 3 or 4, and it's going to be a highly competitive fight before it finishes.
I mean, I think this fight's going to be amazing.
And I say
I
that with
think
zero confidence. Because Moicano is so good at MMA.
Moicano has made me look like an idiot his last like 3 fights at this point, and I'm prepared for him to make me look like one again. That being said, our odds currently, our friends at FanDuel -280, major favorite for Benoit Saint-Denis. Comeback on Moicano is +220. I do have a bet on Moicano because I do think he's very live in this fight. BSD is like he's an aggressive striker, but he's much better on the ground, and that's obviously where Moicano is money. So I think that this fight will be competitive. It'll be back and forth. I am gonna pick Benoit Saint-Denis, but like you, Jose, I got zero confidence in what
Do
is
you know
happening in
how
this.
many knockout wins Moicano has in his career?
He's gonna be like sneaky, I bet, and have as many as he has submissions in like a Charles Oliveira, like sneaky like 8 KO wins. What
No,
is it?
you're very wrong. He has 10 submission wins and 1 knockout win, and that was the Jalen Turner.
Really?
Yeah, he has 1 KO win.
Huh. I mean, I stone miss.
And off the top
Okay.
of my head, I know he's lost to Brian Ortega, he's lost to Jose Aldo, he's lost to Korean Zombie, Fiziev, and RDA, and like we're talking about like murderer's row of losses. Like Jose Aldo and RDA are very easily top 10 Brazilian fighters in UFC history. Korean
But
Zombie, the most exciting
Jalen
fighter ever.
Turner was his one knockout win, the ground and pound finish. Wow.
Because he's so good at jiu-jitsu. So normally when he gets you
Yeah.
down, he just snatches up a neck.
So yeah.
I can
Club and
guarantee
sub.
you, he probably could have had 6 or 7 TKO wins, but why risk it when he can just choke you unconscious? Like wins over Cater, wins over Cub Swanson, Brad Riddell, Drew Dober. This dude is like perennially ranked like 10 through 15 and just fighting killers. He's so good at MMA. That's why this is good matchmaking. This is a very good litmus test for Benoit because if you can add your name next to guys like Brian Ortega, Jose Aldo, RDA, like I think you're doing okay at this MMA game.
Damn straight. Let's move on to the co-main event because some Jose have said that this should be the main event. You alluded to it. In the co-main event, Nassourdine Imavov taking on Brendan Allen, and Brendan Allen himself has come out and been kind of upset might be too strong, but a little perturbed by the fact that this is the co-main event, particularly given that
He's miffed.
the miff's a great word. They are higher ranked in the UFC rankings comparatively to the main event. Nassourdine Imavov, I believe, is 5 in the UFC's middleweight rankings.
Yeah.
Brendan Allen is unbeaten in like 8 fights or something astonishing. He's on an unbelievable run. And so let's start right there. Should this be the main event, Jose? Setting aside our thirst for a 5-round fight between Moicano and BSD, does this deserve to be the headliner for UFC Paris?
Deserves is tough because I think both of these fights sell in terms of Benoit, of the four, I think Benoit is the most popular, especially in France. Moicano is incredibly popular right now, just in MMA. So we kind of built this cult following, just screaming on the mic, asking for money, putting on banger fights. Fought at MSG, fought at UFC 300. So maybe more of an American audience or casual fans know him because he's been around forever. But then on the flip side, I completely understand, sporting-wise, meritocracy-wise, Brendan Allen has one of the longest win streaks in the middleweight division. He's ranked in the top 10. Nassourdine Imavov just knocked out Jared Cannonier, who fought for a title before that. He beat Roman Dolidze, who's now just fought a light heavyweight and is on an absolute tear. Beat Joaquin. And his only loss in the last several years is to Sean Strickland, the former champion, in a fight that Strickland took on short notice. Imavov, was it short notice? Who was Imavov supposed to fight on that card? Or was it the other way around?
No. Imavov was
Strickland came in late, and it was a 205. It went to 205.
Yeah, it went to
it
light
went
heavyweight because I was at that fight. He was at that fight. So like a guy that he wasn't preparing for. I think
That was
it was
Kelvin Gastelum. He was supposed to fight Gastelum.
Calvin Gastelum and Sean Strickland are both very different styles of fighters and
Not
very
the same
different
human.
physically. Very, very different physically as well. So no shame in the game losing to a future champion on short notice in a weight class you were not prepared to do. I get it. This, in terms of meritocracy, in terms of like wins and losses, this probably should be the main event. Especially, BSD coming off a knockout loss to Dustin Poirier and Moicano. Winning at 300 was fantastic, but I get it. I totally get it. There is no wrong answer. I'm not going to pick a deserves. This should be 2 5-round fights at the top. These should be both. I know we don't do 2 main events because you just can't. Only one fight can end the day. Like CM Punk said that eons ago. There's no 2 main events. One match ends WrestleMania. One fight can end UFC Paris. So there is no wrong answer. But I completely, fully understand why Brendan Allen is miffed. I would not use the verbiage that he used. You could go watch his interview with our own Mike Heck. I would not use the verbiage he used or the language he used. I get it. You should be main event, but at the same time, Benoit is very popular in France. Moicano is very popular stateside in the MMA internet landscape, MMA Twitter, as the kids say these days. There is no wrong answer. There really isn't. But I get the gripe.
Yeah, he was very clear that he wanted his next fight to be a main event. And I got to tell you, I think this is better. I think being the co-main here is better than being the main event of UFC Apex 100, even though, biggest event in the company's
Brendan
history.
Allen should main event UFC Apex 100, though. Like, if
he should.
He has to. He's had more fights than anyone.
He absolutely should. But I think that this, like, if I were him, I'd be like, yeah, I'd rather go to Paris and do this in front of a massive crowd and, play spoiler to the hometown guy. It seems like a bigger opportunity to me, but, fighters got to feel their feelings. Who are we to tell them any different, Jose? Let's get to the fight itself, because like the main event, I have a lot of questions about things, but honestly, my biggest question for this fight, and I'd love your perspective, is what the hell are they fighting for? Because the middleweight division is so mucked up right now with how things have unfolded atop it. DDP just defended against Israel Adesanya. So Izzy's now removed from the title picture, but we've got an upcoming fight, theoretically at least, between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. The winner of that, you would assume, has a very good opportunity to fight for the belt. Sean Strickland is, at least theoretically, in the catbird seat to get the next shot at DDP. And there's a whole host of other dudes coming up. Caio Borralho just got the biggest win of his career. What are these 2 men fighting for? Because I don't think it's a title shot.
No, it's definitely not a title shot. I wouldn't hate them seeing face the loser of Whittaker and Khamzat. I think Israel's going to take some time off and let the middleweight division play out. The winner of Khamzat and Whittaker will probably get the shot after Sean Strickland. Caio Borralho fight would be very interesting. I think that would be super interesting, just because, especially for Imavov, because he knocked out Jared Cannonier, and then Caio Borralho should have knocked out Jared Cannonier. For some reason, the referee did not stop that match. I know Paulo Costa's lurking around out there, but I also think, again, if Robert Whittaker beats Hamzat, then you could just do Hamzat versus Paulo Costa, which should have happened a year ago, and that's a fight that'll sell way more. I don't know. I truly don't know. They could fight Marvin Vettori. I mean, if Brendan Allen wins, him and Marvin Vettori already fought in a casino lobby. Might as well fight in a UFC octagon. So that would make a lot of sense. I also think it would depend on where matchups or fights are going to happen. Because Dustin Poirier keeps calling for that fight against Justin Gaethje. That is a main event of any fight night. Could even headline a pay-per-view. I know there's no title on the line, but if they do Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 3 as the main event, especially if it's at the Smoothie King Arena in New Orleans, Brendan Allen has to be the co-main event. He's like the other big name out of Louisiana. Dustin Poirier, to a point, travels. I don't think he's in Paris now, but like when Brendan Allen fights in America, most of the time Dustin Poirier is sitting cage-side to watch his friend. I think Carvalho versus Brendan Allen would be a banger of a co-main event for Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 3, especially if it's in New Orleans. I would like to see Dustin and Brendan on the same card. I think that would be a lot of fun for the Louisiana fans. But let's see how Robert Whittaker versus Hamzat plays out. Let's see how Paulo Costa is. Let's see. Does Roman Dolidze have a fight coming up too? Who's he fighting?
Roman Dolidze is fighting Kevin Holland at 307. I think next weekend.
Brendan Allen only fought Kevin Holland.
Am I right on that?
I don't know. That was in Boston. He fought him because I was there.
Dolidze and Kevin Holland is next weekend. I just want to make sure I was right.
Brendan Allen beat. I'm pretty sure Brendan Allen beat Kevin Holland, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
because Imavov is probably top 5 in the UFC rankings. I mean, Imavov Carvalho.
No, he's not. Imavov is 5, or 4. Sorry, pulled up. He's 4 in the UFC rankings.
So he'll be on he's not going to get the next shot, but he should. If he stops Brendan Allen, and he goes on to fight Carvalho for a possible number 1 contender fight, it would make sense. I think Carvalho will be the most logical sense, but the UFC needs pay-per-views and headliners and main events that'll sell. So let's see. I think Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori would be a lot of fun. They already hate each other's guts and punched each other a whole bunch in front of a poker table. So might as well settle the differences in the octagon.
Yeah, it's middleweight is just a fun one. I got to be honest, I didn't see this one coming, and you have now got my brain turning with UFC New Orleans and getting Dustin Poirier, Brendan Allen. Have DC obviously work the card, be there. Like it feels like we should be doing that. That should be the thing we aspire to make happen, because that would just be fun as hell.
It would make sense. The first time Dustin and Justin fought, it was in Glendale, Arizona, in the arena that Justin Gaethje did regionals or states at wrestling. The second fight was on neutral territory in Utah. The third fight, Dustin Poirier's swan song, can be in New Orleans. Also, not for nothing, Justin is. I need to see that fight a third time.
Just do it again. You do it, and it would be the perfect send off for Poirier, who certainly could fight as long as he wants to, but obviously is nearing being done. Kind of wants to be done. Oh man, next time you see UFC people, just tell them that. Be matchmaker for them. Let's make this happen. That would be electric.
Can do.
Because I also love New Orleans. We got off track because that was such a damn good idea by you, José. That let's see what else we have on this. Oh, basically we've talked around this fight a lot, and I don't think we need to dive too much more into it, but just kind of how do you see this fight going, and what do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
This is, again, very tough because Brendan Allen has done the opposite of Benoit Saint-Denis, where he's fought like a step above his previous win every time. He's not getting the massive, going from 25 to 2. He's going 25 to 22 to 18 to 15. He is slowly making his way up. I know he lost to Sean Strickland. I know he lost to Chris Curtis, but then he beat Chris Curtis on split decision after Chris Curtis hurt his hamstring. I think this is a perfect matchmaking for both men. I get you want to be in the main event. You have every reason to believe you should be in the main event. I don't know, though. Because a win over Jared and Roman for Nassourdine Imavov, I think, is a more impressive win than any win on Brendan Allen's resume, I think. But I say that But Brendan Allen is submitting very high level grapplers like Paul Craig and Andre Muniz, who Andre Muniz, again, I know MMA fighting has a terrible history of picking future contenders, and Andre Muniz is one of those ones that everyone flagged. I'll go Brendan Allen because, like, as good of a striker and as good of a fighter on the ground as Nassourdine Imavov is, Brendan Allen has shown he can put very high-level grapplers away with his jiu-jitsu. So I'll pick Brendan Allen. He's going to fight with a chip on his shoulder. He's really pissed off this entire week. I'll go Brendan Allen.
Just so we're clear, yes, like you're obviously alluding to the support we had for Jake Matthews. Hand up, that was a bit premature. I think us being behind Andre Muniz, who submitted Jacare, that feels pretty reasonable.
And who's that big cat that just got beat in Newark? That fat dude, Romanov. Weren't you guys all high on him?
Alexander Romanov. I'm not sure everyone was. I was high on him just because he was a heavyweight that grappled, and those don't exist.
Sure.
But like Muniz, I stand by. He submitted Jacare. What else am I supposed to think? That he's not damn good?
He's very good.
You know, but Brendan Allen beat his ass. And
choked him out. And then Paul Craig, and then he got TKO'd
by Paul Craig. There's been a lot of discussion about the term fraud checked, and Paul Craig is an expert at fraud checking you, and that's what Andre Muniz got. I support this. I support Brendan Allen. I think he's going to get dubbed. I do think he's going to come out with a point to prove. He has just looked so good time in and time out. I know the Chris Curtis win was debatable and not his best performance. It's a very tough style matchup in general. And he was still able to score repeated takedowns on a guy who can't, like, never gets taken down in Chris Curtis. Mm-hmm. I think he just has a clear edge on the floor against Imavov and is not a dead fish on the feet here. So I like Brendan Allen, and it would be an upset. Brendan Allen currently plus 184, minus 230 on Imavov. So a lot of belief in the French fighters in the big two fights. But I'm definitely backing Brendan Allen, and I wouldn't be shocked if Moicano got it done as well. 12 other fights on this card, Jose. Let me run down the list very quickly because we're not going to dive into each of them. But your feature fights, William Gomi, Joe Anderson Brito. I love Joe Anderson Brito. I love this fight. I think it's a terrific feature fight. Kevin Giuseppe, Brian Battle. We talked about that a little yesterday on Bizarre Between the Links. Morgan Charrier taking on Gabriel Miranda. Faraz Siam, Matt Fravola, Ion Kutalaba. Even Urslan making his UFC debut from KSW. Umar Sy, Reginald Dawan Jung, Ludovic Klein, Roosevelt Roberts, Taylor Lapis, Vince Morales. Eileen Perez, Daria Zalesnikova. That one, keep your eye out. Maybe something happens. Eileen Perez, the one person who missed weight today by a half pound.
And was physically shaking.
Yeah, she looked real sus on the scale, so wouldn't be stunned to see a fight day cancellation for that one, but knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Daniel Barres, Victor Altamirano in a flyweight contest. Nora Cornoli taking on Jacqueline Cavalcante, who's making a quick turnaround. She just fought in August, beating Josiane Nunez. And then Balaji Oki taking on Chris Duncan in your opening fight of the evening. I got two questions for you here, Jose, for the rest of the card. And they're two different ones. Give me different fights for these, but one, give me the fight you are most looking forward to outside of the top two. And then two, give me your low-key banger. So the fight that not enough people are talking about outside of the main and co-main event.
I mean, I said it a little bit on Between the Links yesterday. It's Kevin Giuseppe, Brian Battle on the main event. I really like prospects fighting each other, but it's hard to even call Kevin Giuseppe a prospect because he's like 31, 32, something like that. I know he's from Paris, but he trains in City Kickboxing, so he's from that camp. I saw him fight in Sydney, and he choked out Kiefer Crosby, which doesn't seem like the most difficult thing to do, and then he won inside the Apex. And he said it was a bit of a bummer not to fight on the last Paris card, but fighting close to New Zealand where he trains was a good, it made the pain go away very quickly. And I think his only other 1-2 losses. I know he lost to Jack Della Maddalena a long time ago on the regional eternal MMA scene out in Australia. So losing to Jack Della Maddalena in like your second, third fight is nothing to hang your head at. because City Kickboxing boys, they don't really start their MMA careers young. You'll see a lot of like they'll fight pro when they're ready to fight pro. Like they'll fight you'll see a lot of them make their MMA debuts, pro debuts at like 26, 27, which is not usually how it goes in America. They hit the ground running like who was the guy that headlined against 2 weeks ago from City Kickboxing? He had the Maori face tattoo.
Didn't headline, but give me a second.
He
I'll pull
headlines of the
that.
Contender Series card. He was
The
the main
Contender
event.
Series.
Yes, he
give me
fought Gilbert's son.
Jordan
Something
Tao.
Toe.
Yeah,
But regardless, Toe, and he's 31, 32, and he was like 5-0 and was the number one ranked bantamweight prospect in like the New Zealand, Australia area. So like that goes to show you that usually when you get a City Kickboxing guy and they show up that's 4-0, 5-0, they're probably leagues better than someone that's 4-0, 5-0 in the States. Brian Battle has been on a tear since winning the Ultimate Fighter. I know he had that weird one where he poked a guy in the eye and then they tried to fight each other after the fight. I really like this matchmaking. I think the winner of this isn't going to be top 15, but it's going to establish themselves as a guy who can hang around in the top 20, and then his next fight, if he wins, should be in the top 15, especially Brian Battle, who's been, like I said, has been on a tear. So in the main event, if I'm going to have to watch one fight outside the main and co-main, it is 1,000% Kevin José, Brian Battle. I know I'm a big Morgan Charrier fan, and I love Gabriel Miranda, and Matt Frivola and Ziam is going to be a banger fight, but José Battle, I think, is a really, really fun match that they made now. Similar to when Ribovic fought Zellhuber at Noche UFC, like people were like, why are you sticking this on the main card? Like these are two prospects. Same thing. I'm very excited about this fight. In terms of a low-key banger, for everything we said about Benoit Saint-Denis being on this tear and putting people away and just being a very high-level violent fighter, just erase Benoit Saint-Denis' name and fill in the blank with Ludovic Klein, who for some reason is not in the top 15 and is not fighting someone in the top 15 because this dude is a killer. I interviewed him before he fought Shane Young. He got head kicked. I think Ludovic Klein has like 3-4 head kick wins in his life. And then he lost to Michael Trezano, who's a very tough out for anyone, former Ultimate Fighter winner. And they lost to Nate Landwehr, who's an absolute maniac. And since then, has been unbeaten. I know he has a no contest against Jai Herbert, but I don't remember what that was for. I think it was a bunch of low kicks or a bench grab.
It was a draw.
It was a draw. Okay, it was a draw. So it was a draw. I think Ludovic Klein should be fighting someone in the top 15, someone in that 15 to 13 range. Like everything we're talking about Benoit Saint-Denis, we could talk about with Ludovic Klein. Like he front kicked AJ Cunningham in the gut and then finished him, beat Thiago Moises, a guy that Benoit Saint-Denis beat and then went on to fight, bigger and better things than Matt Frivola and Dustin Poirier. Beat Ignacio Bohemondez, beat Mason Jones, who for a long time was the number one prospect coming out of Cage Warriors. Devontae Smith was a very big prospect at one point. Keep your eye on Ludovic Klein, because if he wins, who's he fighting off the top of my head?
Roosevelt Roberts.
Roosevelt Roberts, duh, I just said that.
It's not an if he wins. He's going to kill Roosevelt Roberts.
Roosevelt Roberts, was in the UFC, left the UFC, came back to the UFC. He's coming off a loss, submission armbar in the first round. I don't know why they haven't given Ludovic Klein a big name. Not a big name, but someone closer to the top 15 or someone coming off a win streak, because Ludovic Klein looks great recently. Maybe this is going to be a showcase fight for Ludovic Klein, and we can, talk about this some other time. Maybe he fights the winner of Ziam and Matt Frivola, or the loser. I don't know, but I want to see Ludovic Klein fight better and high-level competition, because he's going to be on that, I don't care who he fights. I just want to see him fight like a Drew Dober type guy. So, yeah. Or Ludovic Klein, Drew Dober. I'll watch that fight any day of the week. Just give Ludovic Klein a main card fight against a ranked guy, or at least a name people recognize.
I had a strong suspicion Brian Battle and Kevin José was going to be, based on us talking yesterday. I think that fight's great, but for me, and it's, it's a bit chalky, but I love Joyce Brito William Gomi. Like that is the fight one of the fights I'm the most excited about the whole weekend in general. Brito is just a banger every time out. And Gomi has quietly strung together a very, very solid resume. I think it's a great matchup. I hope you guys can't hear the landscapers who decided to come outside my window right now. As far as my low key banger, I'll do it. Why not? I'll be the guy. Norco Noli versus Jacqueline Cavalcante is a fight that I am genuinely interested in. It's not. It is what it is. It's women's bantamweight, but Cornoli is fun. She has got a bit of Jessica Andrade to her, and Cavalcanti has made me wrong multiple times already. And on this quick turnaround, she's got that high volume style against the sort of power and thumping of Cornoli. I think Cornoli gets it done personally, but I'm fascinated to watch. And no one's ever going to be talking about unranked women's bantamweight MMA, but I'll be talking about unranked women's bantamweight MMA because I know that there are some people like Alexander K. Lee who want this division to get its legs underneath it. So that's it. Last thing before we get to the peeps, Jose, because I don't think we're going to talk to you prior to this event again. Give me your predictions for bonuses. Who do you think are walking away with fight of the night and performance of the nights? Or if you're feeling saucy, multiple performances, no fight of the night. However you want to do it, give your 4 bonuses out.
Ludovic Klein, I think, is going to style on Roosevelt Roberts. Roosevelt Roberts is a tough dude, both in and out of the octagon. I think this is a good matchup for Ludovic Klein. And then just the main and co-main, like Moicano Benoit are just, they're bonus merchants at this point. And then Imavov Allen just screams finish, especially based off of their last 2 fights. And they don't have to conserve. This is a 3-round fight, right? Yeah. It's not one of those weird 5-round co-main events. Not having to, conserve your energy and just go balls out right out of the gate seems like recipe for a bonus. So those it's cheap to pick those 3, but I feel like those are the 3 that someone's going to happen crazy in.
I mean, that you've gone very chalk, but
Yes.
it's very reasonable. I will be honestly a bit surprised if the main event doesn't end up being fight of the night. So for sure, I will pick Brendan Allen to get a finish and a bonus as a result. And while I think Ludovic Klein is probably the best choice, let's at least be a little different and let's go Charrier. Just because we haven't talked about him much, but this is one of those guys who is regionally enormously popular. I honestly would not be surprised if he got the biggest pop from the crowd on Saturday. And not like a top 15, maybe not even a top 20 guy at featherweight, but a very, very fun fighter and extremely popular. And so if he goes and puts on a high level performance against Gabriel Miranda, which I believe is very possible for him, very likely, let's say he gets a bonus. And with that, Casey, get on in here. Come join us. Boom. Oh, look at that. Look at that man and his lack of sleeves. No sleeves, no mercy. That's the Casey Leiden way. And it's time to go to the peeps, Casey. We don't have to do this forever. I don't know kind of what questions we've got in there, but if you've got any questions, now is the time to hop them in there, and we'll answer them for about 15 minutes, however long it lasts. And then I'll get out of here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you asked about your Jose, are we good, Jose?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Sorry, I was going through our Slack channel, seeing if I have to make any graphics on the thing. Because I mute my Slack, and then for some reason I was like, oh no, something needs to get done, and then I just skimmed it. I was like, okay, we're good.
Look at this guy. This guy doing everything. I love it. But people they were suggesting other pastries. This French pastries. This event could be. So we have there's
French cream horn. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure I know what that is. Cruller donuts. I'm not. Are crullers really French? I'm going to look that up. I have questionable that a cruller.
Are you calling our lazy bed a liar?
No, I'm questioning that it is French. That feels. Oh, there is a French cruller. Okay, but that's basically a choux pastry, which is fine. I think crullers also the word cruller feels a lot more Germanic than French. Just throwing it out there.
All right. Man, we're learning so much. We thought this is a mixed martial arts podcast.
Beignet. I mean, a terrific. Who doesn't love
Beignets are great, especially in New Orleans.
And not really a French thing. Maybe it's French. I'm not sure. But would you consider this card a nice fruit tart?
No, no,
No.
this is
No.
probably a little better than a fruit tart.
Yeah. So Keyless Jr.
I I mean I like where your head. You're mixing it up. You're trying new things. This is a collaborative effort. I didn't have an answer. I wanted to know if UFC Paris was a French pastry, what would it be?
I think this is a fresh I just feel like it's like a mime with one of those big breadsticks coming out of his backpack. Just
Okay,
yeah,
just a big baguette.
yeah, just a big baguette. This is a
Oh,
three
You know
baguette
what are
card.
good? You know what are good? Mandolins are good. Like just a bag of mandolins. Those are great.
I mean, those are great. Also, according to Wikipedia, the name Kriller comes from 19th century Dutch. So, you know, very far away from France.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. All right,
I'm glad we did this.
that's how people come to find. People get. Everyone talks about fights, but who's breaking it? Who's really breaking it down? All right.
Who's talking about pain au chocolat? Not the rest of these bozos.
Speaking of bozos, we got Joseph Boza. Hey, look at that.
Wow, what a professional. With a good performance in the
No.
co-main, could the winner of Imavov versus Allen jump Sean Strickland to get a title
No.
shot? Allen's won 6 in a row. Imavov is 5-0 and won no contest in his last 6 fights. And
You know what?
Jose,
You know what?
it sounds
You know
like you
what?
think that this could happen.
You know what? Me and the winner of Brendan Allen versus Imavov have in common. Neither of us are going to fight for the UFC middleweight title after Saturday. That's what we have. It's just not going to happen. Sean Strickland's there, especially like if Hamza Chimaev beats Robert Whittaker, then they're going to have to wait even longer. Like it's just the reality of the thing. Like they're both incredible fighters and meritocracy wise, probably, but it's just not going to happen. Sean Strickland lost in a fight many people thought he won, including Dana White, and then beat Paulo Costa in a 5-round fight. Sean Strickland's going to fight for the title next. It's just the reality of the
Yeah.
situation.
The shareholders don't care about I can't even say that word. It doesn't even make sense to say that word. They don't meritocracy. Yeah, just saying that word in MMA just doesn't make sense. It's like I don't even need it.
Go watch the PFL seasons if that's what you need.
Yeah.
Yes, those are very
Call up
meritocratic.
call up Bjorn Rebney and let's get Bellator season 8 middleweight tournament. Let's do that.
Yeah,
I bet half of our audience doesn't understand what I just said.
No, they do not know who Bjorn Rebney is, and that's probably for the best. If we're being
He's
honest.
in Mexico, dog.
Mexico.
Mexico. Oh man, it was a big miss for the UFC not to just pull up Bjorn Rebney's Mexico tweet for Noche UFC.
With that giant screen, can you just Mexico?
That should have been one of the Easter eggs. Should have been Bjorn Rebney in Mexico, like for the scavenger hunt. But yeah, I agree, Jose. This is just not happening. There are at least 2 people in front, and that's the best case scenario for the winner of this fight.
And these 2 gentlemen do not generate enough revenue for the UFC for them to bump Strickland. There's nothing they can do.
I would say there's truly not something they could do to make it happen.
Yeah. But thank you, Boza. I enjoy the thought. I don't know. Lazy bed.
This is gonna be similar to like when Merab beat Jose Aldo. Everyone's like, "Oh, he should fight for the title next," and then he had to fight 2 more times after that.
Yes, it's almost exactly what it's going to be.
I could say I could see Brendan Allen and Imavov kind of being the Merabs of the middleweight division, or every division has that guy. Do they just have to keep winning?
Right now, it's a great time to be that guy across various weight classes. So.
It's working out right now, but yeah.
From Lazy Bed. Why does Joanderson Brito, who has a win over Diego Lopez and on a 5-fight win streak, get little to no attention, but Lopez has become a media darling? This is true. So Diego Lopez famously lost to Joanderson Brito on Contender Series, then made his way to the UFC in short notice versus Mavsar, and has become this sort of firestorm of excitement and enthusiasm. Jose, I certainly have my thoughts on this, but why do you believe that Diego Lopez has cottoned on in such a way that Brito is not?
Because Diego Lopez speaks multiple languages. In two markets the UFC really wants to push into. He has the signature look. And yeah, he lost to Mavzar. But Mavzar is, again, talking about guys that just have to keep winning. He's another guy. If Mavzar just keeps winning, he might just have to force his way into a title shot. But Mavzar is a guy. It would be like if a guy took a fight against Merab on short notice and then almost won. Like, every time Mavzar gets interviewed, he's being asked about Diego Lopez. And he's fought once since that fight, and Diego Lopez has fought like 5 times since that fight. So it's a combination of activity, has never been in a boring fight, is in 2 marketplaces that have rabid fans, is the head coach of, not the head coach, but one of the coaches of a woman who pulled off one of the biggest upset in UFC history, and is just taking fights on incredibly short notice, fought in MSG, fought on like 12 hours notice against Dan Ige, turned right around, is offering a fight as a backup for Abu Dhabi, offered to fight Mavzar in Utah. Like, it's just the perfect storm. Diego Lopez is that rare combination of he's a fighter that Dana White loves and he's a fighter that the fans love. And he's just the perfect storm. He's the perfect storm. Will he ever be champion? I don't know. But he's on the short list of 5 guys that I will never not watch fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed most of it. The only thing I'll add is he has had more opportunity because of the risks he has taken in some capacity. Like, he lost to Mavsar, but it doesn't matter in a fight like that. He performed so beyond expectation against a guy who is universally regarded as one of the 5 best dudes in the weight class that got him shine. And then he followed that up with 20-second knockout of Gavin Tucker or whoever. I think it was Gavin Tucker was after Mavsar. And then like a 1-minute knockout and then he gets into the rankings and obliterates Sadiq Youssef. Joanderson Brito has been killing people. Make no mistake. I told you this is the fight I'm the most interested in outside of the 2 main ones. But there's a difference between icing Sadiq Youssef in a minute and finishing Jonathan Pearson, round 3 or whatever. And again, I think that's a very good performance. Brito should be getting more love, but Lopez got a little momentum and then just took the ball and ran with it. And Brito hasn't had the same opportunity yet. I think this is a big setup fight for him to, hey, you're the feature bout against a guy who's fairly popular in the region on a good thing. And if he comes in and if he really styles on Saturday, like I think Brito is going to do, I think his next fight is going to be that sort of back end of the top 15, get a major opportunity like that and try and push him, because it's a lot to be excited about with Brito.
People also really like fighters that, they had a setback and they built themselves back up. Like Charles Oliveira is one of the most popular fighters in the world. And he was a 500 fighter before he fought his way to the title and is one of the most exciting fighters in all of the UFC. Dan Hooker right now has never been more popular. And it looked like Dan Hooker was down and out. Like, lost to Chandler, lost to Islam, got beat by Arnold Allen when he tried to reinvent himself at featherweight. Contract he's been with the UFC for so long. Will they re-sign him because he's going to get big money? And now he's possibly on the shortlist for fighting Justin Gaethje or rematching Dustin Poirier. Like, people love to see people build themselves back up. And Diego Lopez faltered on the Contender Series and then turned right around and just took off from there. Like,
and then to me, it's more than falter. It's just I don't know if it's the UFC or it's Diego himself or a combination of things, but we know, or we feel like we know, the Diego Lopez story. I don't know the Brito story. I don't know what hardships he's had to go through. I just know he's a guy that wins. And in this modern UFC game, that's not enough. Just winning, not even knocking people out. You have to have a story. Diego Lopez has a story, and I think that's what really sells. And if Brito's what, yeah,
he's got a story. He's got a look. People love the look, and sometimes it really is as simple as, in his first 3 fights, he got 3 performance bonuses, and that shit stands out. Like, if you are 100% performance bonuses in your first time out, that's how you suddenly go, oh shit. Now he gets a Sadiq Youssef. Now he gets Dan Ige, because he's getting all these accolades.
I've been saying forever, like, everyone loves the Patty Pimblets and the Sean O'Malley's and these guys they're really popular and they have a look and they can leapfrog a lot of people because of their popularity. But then there are guys that are like Max Holloway that are just like, I'll fight whoever you put in front of me and I'm going to beat the shit out of them and then move on to the next guy. Because Max Holloway had to fight like 11 in a row to even get an interim title shot, and then beat up Anthony Pettis, and then went to Brazil and beat up José Aldo. Like, Diego Lopez is on that trajectory right now. Like, I'll fight whoever you put in front of me, and I'll just beat the shit out of them.
Yep.
Or.
I mean, he's a beautiful man, and he does. I'm not.
That doesn't hurt, man.
That don't hurt. That don't hurt.
Like it's people want to act like that. Like that's part of it, man. If you have a look, the sport has become so flattened out. It's become so monochromatic, and that like a lot of you watching this won't even have been fans at a time when fighters got their own shorts, and that was significant. BJ Penn's black belt BJJ shorts were fucking sick. The Chuck Liddell Iceman shorts were sick.
And
like
Ortiz,
fighters can't have those.
Tito Ortiz is like bleach blonde hair with the flames. Yeah.
Like these were ways, and like iconography is important in general to building a fan base, and there's so little of that now that it only exists for people who are already stars, people who get these special limited edition shorts or whatever. That like, hey man, that's the dude with the like power mullet. Like and he's good because if he just had a mullet, there have been plenty of people like Mike Pyle had a mullet and was good, but like lost a bunch. He is winning and has a look, and that shit like this matters, man. It is significant to building a star.
Yes, this is entertainment first and occasionally some sport. But thank you much. We got to chime in about more pastries.
Ooh, pastries. Esther Lynn. Esther, I'm big into Madeleines. Today we take a pistachio croissant, and today we had a pistachio croissant, and it was amazing.
You know,
I completely forgot about that. We woke up early. We woke up at 6 a.m. and I was like, hey, let's go get some croissants. And we went to there's a French pastry down here, and we had French pastries this morning. I completely forgot.
I know what you're doing tomorrow then.
Oh yeah.
It's UFC Paris Day, baby. How's a pistachio croissant? I've never had a pistachio croissant.
I'll tell you what.
Fantastic.
There is one person in the world that I've met that his whole life revolves around pistachio flavored things. And oddly enough, it is Fabiano, the UFC interpreter.
Really?
I hope someone clips this and says it to him because I talk to Fabiano through text every single day, literally every day. And I'll wake up and I'll have 10 Instagram messages all about different flavored pistachio things. It's ice cream, coffee, pastries, cake. Like
pistachio ice cream is pretty solid.
Anything pistachio, Fabiano sends it to me. It's become like a running joke. To the point where when I was in Toronto, me and AK and his now wife, big ups AK, at the time, his fiance girlfriend went to like get breakfast or lunch or something, and I got a pistachio croissant for the sole reason to take a photo of it and send it to Fabiano.
Well, I mean, Casey, do it again tomorrow. Get ready for UFC Paris. Wake up with a pistachio croissant or something else. A Madeleine, pain au chocolat.
If I start a cruller. How do you say it?
Cruller.
Cruller.
I mean, that's a Germanic American way of saying it. Cruller.
All right.
I mean, perfect for you too, because fights tomorrow, in case you guys aren't aware, because it's Paris, fights tomorrow start noon Eastern, so 9 a.m. I believe is when the fights happen for you, Casey.
Yep. So we'll be doing our fan Q&A, I think you and me, at 8:30 my time in the morning. So
yeah.
I'm excited. I'll have some fresh pistachio croissants with me.
I'll go to, there's a little market that sells pastries. I'll hit that up in the early morning and be ready to go bright and early. We'll get going. Be fun.
Oh yeah, real quick. How are you doing? I know Atlanta's been in the news with the weather. How's your area?
Atlanta's fine. So, me and Raimondi are cool. Nothing. Okay. I mean, it's not fine. There are certainly parts of it that are like actively underwater and a bunch of trees got knocked around and stuff. I have a bunch of friends who've lost power, but I live in downtown Atlanta basically, and it has largely missed us. It rained last night, but I had power go out very briefly in the evening. But other than that, knock on wood. I mean, I'm staring. A window out is right here. It is stunning outside
Oh.
now. Like it seems lovely at this point in time. So hopefully, it's all passed. I think mostly it has. So yeah.
That's good news. Good news
Hey,
for Atlanta.
before we move on, this
Yes, sir.
solar club, I believe that is Carlos, who I met at Noche UFC, and he came up to me and told me that he's in Tijuana and super chats do not work there.
Yeah.
So, and I told him I would bring it to the next time I was on a preview show. I would bring it to the attention. So, Carlos, I saw the group. I saw the chat. I brought it. They know. They now know. I promised I would tell them, and I'm now doing that.
All right. Well,
Next time we will keep an eye out. Solar Clock.
Sorry, Soul.
Yeah. Hey, and sir, I do want to get my butt down to TJ and roll around with you guys.
He gave me a pin for it was from the gym of Brandon Moreno. It was like, that symbol he has tattooed on him. So I got that pin actually sitting right over there. Thank you, Carlos.
Hey.
I hope next time he gives you a pin that super chats do not work in Tijuana.
Well,
all right, Casey, let's hit one or two more and get on out of here.
This is an actual super chat. We do have a super chat here.
From Terrence Leverett. Jose, where do you think Agatha is leading us to in the MCU? Wanda return? ? Fantastic Four ? Also, thoughts on Penguin? A-side for life. So
I haven't watched that.
A-side, baby.
A-side, baby. I haven't seen Agatha. I probably won't. I don't watch a lot of the MCU shows unless I do. I've done a million podcasts over X-Men 97, and I did a bunch over Moon Knight just because people were fascinated by it. I don't quite understand where Agatha gets her own show. She's a pretty big, like, she's also not for nothing, like an incredibly old lady in the comic book. She's like, shout out, who just passed away?
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith just passed away. She's like that level of old in the comic book. So I know what they're trying to do because they made that little silly song from WandaVision. But I do not think she is going to be the deciding factor on Fantastic Four or the return of Wanda. I think they're too big, and Agatha is not a big enough name. Someone told me that, what's her name? Who's from Parks and Rec? Aubrey Plaza is playing a character that could be Blackheart, which would be crazy. If that's true, I would watch. But she was already the Shadow King in Legion. So if they just cross over Legion and Agatha, I'm also all about it. Penguin, haven't started yet, but I will start it this week. I'm very, very, very excited.
I watched Penguin. I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
That's what I heard.
I liked it.
I'll watch it.
I'm waiting until Penguin's out.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do like multiple. Just let me.
I think I'm going to watch it when I fly because I'm going to Saudi for Francis's fight. I think I'm going to just download all the Penguin episodes and just binge it while I'm in the air for like 12 hours.
Smart.
Yeah.
Casey, I see a couple others. Super chats, and then we can get out of them. Connor Mahoney, does a win for Moicano get him significantly closer to a title shot? And would a win versus Patty even be necessary since he's ranked so far back? So looking at the UFC rankings, Patty is 15. Moicano wins. He probably stays. He is currently he's 11th because Fiziev and Max Holloway are tied for 9th. So he's currently 11th, whereas BSD is 12 in the UFC ranking. So the winner won't move, seems fairly likely. So what do you think about this, Jose?
What is Moicano's nickname? Well, I guess his second nickname now. What does he keep calling himself?
Money Moicano.
There's your
Money
answer.
Mohawk.
He's going to fight the guy that'll generate the most interest. And that will be Paddy Pimblett. It's like Petr Yan did not have to fight Sean O'Malley in Abu Dhabi. He still did it, probably won that fight, but that catapulted Sean O'Malley to fight for the title. And, Petr Yan was like going to fight. I even talked to his manager. He's like, big name, probably a fight we can win on a big card. I think that's what this is leading to. Moicano, and again, go read the interview on our site. Said the same thing. Like, it's all about drawing interest in who will draw the most eyeballs to you, and that is Paddy Pimblett. Why fight Dan Hooker and get your face rearranged when you can fight a guy that's probably not going to rearrange your face for way more eyeballs? Paddy Pimblett.
But Dan Hooker's not bad option though for after Paddy as far as just popularity wise.
I agree.
I actually agree that Dan Hooker, if you were presented Hooker versus Pimblett, he should take Hooker. I don't think Hooker takes that fight based on what he has been saying and sort of what he is attempting to do, because that fight doesn't do anything for Hooker. So I don't think he takes that fight. But I think honestly, win or lose, Moicano's just fighting Pimblett here.
Yeah,
which takes a little bit out of this main event, right? It just feels like it lessens the stakes, certainly on his side, but it's just smart business. Beating Pimblett is more significant in the ways that matter tangibly than beating Mateusz Gamrot or whatever. And again, I'm a huge Mateusz guy. I love Mateusz, but it means more. So yeah.
Is this Moicano's first main event? Am I forgetting?
No, he headlined against Zombie in that fight.
Zombie.
That's right.
Zombie. Yeah.
I was at that fight. It was fun.
Yeah. Yep. And our last super chat before we get out here is very important.
Super chat not working in Tijuana. Love y'all. Lazy bed. That's how we end the program right there. I mean, you can't.
Shout out TJ. Haven't been in a long time. Used to go like once a year.
Once a year? Wow.
You know what? There is a very underrated punk scene at TJ. I'll tell you that much. Some of the best. No idea. Some of the best pits I've ever been into were the 50 people.
That is something like to travel the world. I want to go to hardcore and like thrash metal shows across the world, so I can just see what the crowd is like. I want to go to Indonesia to see like a hardcore show in Jakarta. I want to go to see one in Tokyo. I want to see one in I don't know. I want to go to Russia to see one. I love seeing different crowds, and going to TJ to see a punk show would be awesome. Actually, I live in basically Gardena.
You can do that, Casey. That's like not that long a drive for you.
Maybe not right now, but you should go when it starts to clear.
I've been busy, but yeah.
Also, not for nothing, not the best area right now, specifically.
Yeah.
Peso Pluma's not allowed to perform there anymore because the cartel threatened to murder him if he ever came back.
You should take that threat seriously.
Yeah. Yes, you
should probably not go back. That would be my suggestion. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone for a little over an hour, which is good. UFC Paris early card again. Remember, y'all, 12 Eastern. So we'll be doing fan Q&A tomorrow, like 11:30 Eastern, something like that. We'll have a post show. We'll have all the coverage that you come to know and love and expect from us at MMAfighting.com. So keep it locked here this weekend. Thank you, Jose Youngs. That's him right there in the middle. Thank you, Casey Leiden, for doing all the production and making all this seem so smooth. Thank you, me, because I'm great. And most importantly, thank all of you.
But you know who we don't thank? John Fisher, because fuck him.
He sucks. I agree.
Yes, he does.
I'm gonna Google him and find out who he is, and I will agree with you.
Sucks. Don't give him the internet street cred with the clicks.
He doesn't understand reality. Just tweet John Fisher sucks and just watch the retweets come in.
Yeah.
Just pouring in. Do that from our MMA fighting account. Let's juice.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all for sticking with us. See y'all tomorrow. Love you.
Hasta luego.
No super chats in Tijuana.
Shout out TJ.